Sandra Ryan. I'm the Early Childhood Project Manager on the team at Special Olympics International, and I'm very grateful that Mary Beth has invited me to present with you all since we've been working so closely on the evaluation of the app that we will dive into plenty today. So great to meet you all.
Thanks. Jill, I guess I'm just going to call out rather than everybody, and I'm just going to go right down the list. Jill?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jill Eisenberg. I am here, an employee at the UConn UCED, and I'm working closely with some colleagues here on the STARS parent-to-parent project and some other early childhood projects here at the UCED.
Thank you. And Beth Ann?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Good morning. My name is Beth Ann. I work here at the UConn UCED on early childhood projects.
Thank you. Renee?
Good morning, Renee Smith. I'm with Colorado's USED and Land program.
Thank you. Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily Serafin. I'm with the Kansas Land program, and I'm the program manager for our early childhood training program.
Perfect. Jamie?
Hi, my name is Jamie Ray Leonetti. I'm the Associate Director of Policy at the Institute on Disabilities at Temple University, which is Pennsylvania's UCED, and I have our family leadership programs under my portfolio.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie Heron. I'm with the Indiana UCED, Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. I'm the director of the Early Childhood Center, and we work with early intervention system in Indiana, as well as preschools and child cares around inclusion.
Perfect. Thanks. Jennifer?
Hi there. I apologize. I can't get my camera on.
Okay.
I am Jennifer Worthman. I am actually not with Lend or UCED. I'm actually with University of Alabama at Birmingham. And this is a special area of interest for research for me and also personal reasons.
Thank you. Do you work with Jennifer at all? The early childhood person there?
I am not familiar with that name, but I can certainly.
You know what? I'll put it, Jennifer Kilgo. I'll put it in the chat, and you can connect with her. She would be a good contact. Also,
that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. How about, is Robin McWilliam there? Sorry to take this up. I'm forgetting which one he's at. Is he with you?
You know, I'm at the School of Nursing. I'm not entirely familiar with the whole program.
I'm going to connect you with the early childhood special ed folks. That'll be great.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
All right, Jennifer. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Behrens. I'm an affiliate of the Kansas Lend program and a researcher postdoc fellow right now in the Department of Pediatrics at KU Medical Center, focusing in on early childhood and relational health. And I have a strong interest in the use of the technology component of this today, so I'm excited to learn.
Great. Thank you. Angelina?
Hello, everyone. I'm Angelina Iyama Wilson. I'm in Los Angeles. I am a Children's Hospital USC Lend alum, and I am just interested in the topic and happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Philip?
Hi, I'm Philip Crane. I'm with the UAB Alabama Center for Excellence in Disabilities and Lend program as their self-advocate faculty. My interest in it came up in my email, but I, a long time adaptive sports athlete, played in middle and high school and played in college as well. So the interest in sports and development was what caught my eye. So
perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So Jennifer, are you at you're at UAB too, right?
Correct. Yes.
All right, so you need to get over to the Center of Excellence where Philip is. That's another contact.
I will. Thank you.
All right, and Anna, do you want to just tell people who you are and all the things you do? And I'm so thankful you stepped in to get this going.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Costales. I'm with AUCD. I've actually been here for about 13 years. I'm involved with the day-to-day communications and marketing of AUCDs. So anything that's on the website, webinars, newsletters, and digital events, all those fun things I help. So I work across UCED's Lens and IDDRCs, and I'm always happy to help. And I'll put it back to Mary Beth.
Yes, she's
And
my
Mary Beth,
go.
can you just let me know when you want to record? And then, sorry, I already hit record. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. And Anna is my go-to. Whenever like I'm not sure what's going on, like in this case, I just called out to her and thank you for setting this up. So just a couple of announcements, you guys. We are going to record this because I think with the confusion of the teams versus this, we don't have a lot of people on, and I want to make sure so you can tell your colleagues that. Number two, this is not a quarterly meeting. We will be meeting every other month, and in the chat are the dates for the SIG meeting. We are open to suggestions. We try and bring cutting edge issues. In the past, I would say the last 3 or 4, we have focused a lot on the political arena and how its effects really impact infants, young children, and their families. The infants and young children being either at risk or having developmental disabilities in our services, and also how it affects USIDS. Because until we have a final budget, the USIDS we are back in the Senate version, House version, but not in the president's budget. So we will continue to update people as we find out information because we sure all want to be still here July 1st of next year. I'm going to turn it over to Cassandra. She's been my partner in this. We've done this presentation a couple of times. Since it's such a small group, if you probably even just call out and say, I have a question as Cassandra's going through hers, and the same. My piece is small. I'm just going to give you the evaluation data we have so far. But this is a terrific, I think, value added to anything that our young children are getting in formal intervention. So Cassandra, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. Yes, and it's been great to partner with you on this. And again, thanks for having me here. It was really helpful to hear from you all who's in the room and understand your background. And hopefully there will be a little bit of something for everyone here. But as Mary Beth mentioned, I'm going to be diving into the Young Athletes app that we have at Special Olympics. You know me on us already. And early childhood overall at Special Olympics. And one thing I'll flag is that as we talk about the app, we're actually looking to start disseminating the app in more spaces, especially as it includes different state level systems, local level, pediatricians, OTs, different provider areas. So we'll be very interested to hear if you have any questions as the presentation goes on, please chime in. And at the end, any feedback we would love to hear. But just to dive in a little bit about what I'll be talking about today. So I'll give an overview of Young Athletes at Special Olympics, which is our in-person intervention for young children, dive into the app, and then pass it over to Mary Beth to share some of the evaluation that's been done. And then again, would love to hear any thoughts from you all. But just to get started, so Young Athletes, for those that may not already know, we have Special Olympics Young Athletes. It's an early childhood play program for children with and without intellectual disabilities, starting at age 2, going through age 7. That's the in-person component that started. It was developed in 2007 as a program, and it's really an inclusive sport and play program for children with and without IDD, and it really helps develop critical cognitive, social, and motor skills. I know that many people, when they think Special Olympics, they think sports, they think major games, which of course we do have. We are Special Olympics is in all 50 states and over 190 countries and territories. And while we do have those large games, we also have programming that goes on year round. And what we know about developing sports skills and game skills is that the critical development really happens earlier than age 8, which sparked the development of young athletes, really understanding and recognizing the need to support children and families as early as possible. Instigated the creation of Young Athletes. So since 2007, we've had early childhood programming in all of our regions, and that program was really developed and broken down into 8 key fundamental skill areas. You can read them here on the screen, but really foundational skills, walking and running, really using motor play to support child's development and to get them ready for that sports and play participation once they're beyond the age of 7, but really looking to support children in early childhood as well to start developing those skills early. Young Athletes as a program happens in 3 core buckets. It happens in schools, it happens in the community, and it happens in homes. and how that happens in each of those spaces. So we have the traditional 8-week implementation. This is a standalone program. It happens in 8-week cycles. And this activity guide it's a structured lesson plan that breaks it down by those key fundamental areas, so that this can happen in the community. I've attended at Parks and Rec, or different community spaces led by volunteer coaches and volunteer implementers within the community. It can also happen in 8-week cycles in schools as well, and then at homes. But we also do, in the last 2 years, we've developed a school year implementation lesson plan. So we heard a lot of feedback from teachers and those implementing young athletes that there was a desire to have it last all year for the school without just repeating the same 8 weeks. So our team developed the lesson plans to help support this implementation across the school year. It is broken down. There are two sort of booklets of the lesson plans. There's the 2 to 4, so pre-K and kinder, and then there's 5 to 7, kinder to first as well, to support that in school implementation. And then we also have a third way that young athletes is implemented, which is part of our holistic child and family health model, which I really dive into here. But Special Olympics takes young athletes as the early childhood intervention, family education through our family health forums, and then we have a pediatric health screening as well. So we take all of 3 of those components together as part of a cohort model to really support children and families across an 8-week period of time for child and family health as well. So those are the ways that it's implemented as an in-person programming. The goals for the program are to support children, the development of children with IED through inclusive interventions, really encouraging children with and without IDD to play together, and then empowering families as well to see their child's and shift their lens on their child's ability and really see their future potential and their strengths. And these goals remain the same across contexts. So whether it's schools, community, or homes, the goal for young athletes remains the same. And all Special Olympics programming, I always like to flag here, is inclusive. So from early childhood through to our sports and teams, it is all, we have inclusive programming all throughout the ages and throughout the programming, with the goal of really removing that stigma and supporting inclusion across families. So taking those goals, share a bit about the impact that we've seen of young athletes overall. So we've seen really 3 buckets of impact on the child, the family, and the community. The big impact result we always share is that after 2 months of participation in young athletes, children with IED gained 7 months in motor skills. And in addition to that, we saw impacts on communication, daily living, social, and different internal and external behaviors as well. And within the community, we saw changes in perceptions and attitudes towards children and adults with ID. We've really seen it promote acceptance and inclusion. And when we were evaluating that child and family health model that I mentioned earlier, we also saw significant improvements and impact on the family. We saw improvements on parent empowerment, including confidence in their ability to parent their child with ID. And we've really seen young athletes as a program provide opportunities for families to connect directly with one another as well, which we know is so important to start building that network of support. So building off of that impact that we saw of the in-person programming, Special Olympics decided to develop the Young Athletes app. The app is free for families. I always like to flag that here. It's free for families, it's free for providers. All Special Olympics programming is free. We want it to be as accessible as possible. It will always be free. So I just always like to flag that as a way to, we really are looking for this to be a support for families. The app was developed to strengthen that at-home support that young athletes, so if they're already participating in Young Athletes, the app includes all of those activities that they're doing in the 8-week or the year-long lesson plan, and it has it within the app, so families can take those activities that their child is doing in the community or in the school and do it at home, really providing an opportunity to strengthen family engagement through families are able to connect directly with one another within the app, which I'll show in a little bit. And then really we're also looking to bridge the gap in care. So we know that when families might receive a diagnosis for their child or have a suspected delay, there's a wait period of actually receiving services or therapies for their child. So really having the app be that tool and that resource that they can use right away to access information, to access activities that their child can do and that they can do with their child as well. So we don't want it to be seen as an added task for educators, for families, for anyone. We really want it to be seen as a support for family and children as early as possible that they can use on their own time. And really ultimately a way to bring families into Special Olympics as early as possible. We know that maybe they're not yet 2 years old, so they're not able to participate in young athletes in person just yet, or maybe there's transportation challenges or not necessarily an immediately local program, but really looking to connect with families as early as possible through an app. So to show you what app we're talking about, I always just like to play this video. It's just 1 minute long, and I'm really hoping that it works. If sound doesn't work, it's just like music overlay, so I think it'll be okay. But I'll just show this so that you can have some visuals of what we're talking about here. So I always just like to share that video because I think it shows kind of everything all in one place. But to dive in a little bit deeper about what the app includes. So the app is really designed as a personalized experience for families. They go in and they can create a profile for their child, and then they're asked to complete what we call a development survey. Those survey questions are based on the CDC milestones, and it's really designed to give us an understanding of where their child is developmentally so that the app can then make specific recommendations, activity recommendations for their child. We designed it to make sure that the initial survey is not too tedious for families. We don't want them having to go in and fill out 50 questions. So we've mapped it on the back end to really only have a handful of questions before they receive these recommended activities up at the top. Families can create up to 5 child profiles, and then each of those child profiles has specifically personalized recommendations for their child. So the goal is really, we have illustration shown, written example, and a video example of how to implement all of the activities. And an overarching goal of the app is to have more positive language. There's not a focus on missed milestones or this is what your child can't do. It's really focused on where the child is, to have activities that support them in developing and developing through those milestones as well, with more positive language and removing the stigma and really making it approachable and fun for children and families to do those activities at home. So they receive specifically recommended activities up at the top, but then they can also have access to browse the entire library of activities as well. Then we have the community section, which I briefly mentioned. Families can go in and connect directly with one another. I always like to flag here that we do follow all data privacy laws in the US and globally. Europe is always, I think, the most strict in terms of data policy, so we always we follow that as well. So families need to opt in to participate in the community, but once they do that, they can filter by location and see other families in their area. Depending on what they share about their child in the app, you can see a little bit about the family's child. So if they've indicated a diagnosis, their age, you can see some of that information as well. We heard from families in initial development focus groups that there was an interest in reaching out to families maybe with shared experience or in their area to start connecting. So the app provides that. It also has the ability to do group chats. And so if there's an event that's being held, can create a group chat for that event or whatever the grouping that would make most sense for that community. That can be done in Young Athletes app. Then we have the health education resources. So in this section, we have vetted resources. We worked with the Yale Child Study Center and their team to really curate resources that we wanted to make sure were evidence-based, vetted, added into the information section. So we have information on Special Olympics. We also have information on specific diagnoses that the families, children might receive. We have information on developing a medical plan of care, educational plan of care. Special Olympics has a Healthy Start toolkit that's really designed to support families from the moment they receive a diagnosis for their child. So really navigating everything involved in that process and journey lives within the app as well. So we know that families oftentimes receive a ton of information or they want to go and find a ton of information. So we're looking for the app to be that reliable space that families can go to find information when they're looking to do that. And then lastly on this screen, I always like to flag the translation. So the app is available in English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, and German. And that's just a quick button to change their preferred language directly within the app. And then I also wanted to flag here, so while the app was originally developed based on that in-person gross motor play program of 2 to 7, we have also added activities that target birth to 3 development as well. And those are activities, those are also interactions that we've highlighted. So really highlighting the fact that mealtime, diaper time, just face-to-face communication and connection time is really key and supports child development as well. That is all within the app, and those are all included in the recommended activities that families see and receive. We've also added, because the initial activities were primarily focused on gross motor development, we also have activities that are focused on fine motor, language, cognitive, and social emotional developmental domains as well. And then we have what we call our inclusive adaptations. So when families go in to create their child profile, they're also asked if their child has any additional accessibility needs. So maybe they use a mobility device or they're hard of hearing. If that's indicated on their profile, the activities that have modifications, it's automatically listed. So the families can see how to modify that activity based on their child's specific needs. So now that I've shown you an overview of what the app looks like, I'm going to pass it over to Mary Beth to share about the evaluation that's been done so far.
Thanks, Cassandra. I'm going to go through this, and if people want more information, they can. And I think the biggest challenge here is just getting numbers to make sense of the effectiveness. We were charged initially on the feasibility of using this. We also wanted to see the usability, meaning were people using it, were parents using it? And if parents had impressions they wanted to give us, and we were actually able, with another way we looked at the data, to look at the effectiveness based on the amount of time that parents spent on the app. So if you can go to the next slide, Cassandra. We're going to go and first talk about focus groups. Go to the next slide. We had a number of focus groups that Cassandra actually ran. If you could go back for 1 second, Cassandra, yeah. So as you can see, we had wonderful countries plus Ohio, which was not so much of an outlier as just a comparison, but we didn't have enough numbers. And we ran into a lot of realistic constraints that the parents had in these countries, as well as the Special Olympics staff. So we had small numbers in terms of asking people their impressions. And we had, you can go right to the next slide, 4 themes that emerged across. But each one of these countries, I'm just going to give you the similarities. And as you can see, the first one was accessibility. And this is everything from having enough minutes on their phones, because that's a real issue in low resource countries, to really being able to get in each time. But the other theme was that it really did, those who used it felt it facilitates personal and interpersonal growth. They had a positive experience with the activities. They also had different perspectives of the usage. They wanted a little bit easier. but it was really difficult to just get it in their hands and used initially. And that part of it could have been culture. A lot of it was logistics of just getting through the day, as most families can tell you, and then having time to do this. Okay, next one. So across the countries, were these number one, which Special Olympics has taken care of and is still taking care of, is the accessibility concerns, making sure parents who want to use it are able to use it. We had positive outcomes across multiple systems that were using this from schools, because in Africa in particular, the school folks were more interested in using this, mainly because the families were working a lot. And grandparents are caregivers in a lot of these countries. There was helpful resources and activities ideas. Those who were in the focus group said absolutely. And the community, they really liked that section too. Okay, next. The quantitative data was really an exploratory to see if we could make sense. You can go to the next slide. We had 93 participants, which is it's fairly large, considering some of the challenges in the countries, especially in Africa, 91. The two variables were dichotomized, which means we split them in two because we couldn't make any predictors or user regression based on the variable numbers. So we really did equal to or less than once a week and more than once a week. The families use this. So each family, it is recorded on the app how often they're using it. So it was an easy way to split them. So these were independent variables. You can go to the next one. So the questions again were similar. Did the app help you understand your child's strengths? Did the app help you increase the amount of time you and your child played together? Do you think the child used new skills? And then we did regressions. Okay, do the next. So the first one, as you can see, is that the parents who responded to this all use the app. You can do the next one. Most of them, except for 2%. The app usage frequency, as I told you, it's kind of all over, which is why we dichotomized. Okay, you can go to the next one. And did it help increase playtime? Yes, it did. So there's some really blatant yes, 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 which was good for us to see. Okay, next one. This is the more important one when you play with numbers and do a logistical regression. Those families who were on it more than once a week, the parents saw new skills emerge in their children, and that's the top line. So that seems to be the variable of importance, the frequency of use. And that makes sense, but to have it in data is real important. Next one, meaning we're not going to recommend parents use it once a month. So the results in conclusion, those who were in this analysis, majority of they were mothers with high school completion, iPhone users in the US and Android globally, and more installation support in Africa and Malta, which is where, no, not Malta, where were we? Was that it?
Yeah,
It
Malta
was
was one
Malta. I
of
was
them. Yeah.
thinking, but anyway,
Yeah.
so we did need more support there. And they did have Special Olympics, young athletes staff to support them. Mean age of 5 years, children, 82% with an IDT diagnosis, commonly ASD, Down syndrome, and developmental delay, developmental disabilities. 85% were in special ed, 73% received additional services. As you can see from the focus group, the app helps parents recognize skills and strengths of their children and facilitated engagement of the family unit. And visuals alongside the activities help make the play more accessible. I love the visuals, especially for families who experience more challenges with literacy, which is the other variable that I love that this app took into account, because we know that there is various levels of literacy. And language is also one of those challenges if it was in one of the more less used language. So the key results, parents who use the app more than once a week for at least 15 minutes per session reported children learned new skills and greater increase in time they spent. That to me is the key result. It's showing if parents use this, like to use it, they're going to spend more time facilitating their children's development, and they're going to get the self-efficacy of seeing their children's development through new skills. Okay, I think that's it for the results and conclusion.
you. Yes, and so based on, as you mentioned, Mary Beth, that we've made a number of updates to the app. One of those in terms of to address the accessibility and challenges of accessing it. We made all of the activities available to download. So we were hearing there wasn't a lot of access to data or to internet on a consistent basis. And so now you can go in, and the first time when you go in, you can download as many activities as you'd like so that families can then pull it up in spaces where they may not have access to data or internet on site. So that was one of the things that we made sure to prioritize based on the feedback that we were consistently receiving. Another space that we've made updates is that in addition to hearing what Mary Beth mentioned from families, we also heard that there was a need and a desire to have a provider access as well. So we were hearing feedback that as the app is being shared in different spaces, it would be helpful to have providers and families connect directly. Also heard an initial feedback that a lot of the activities within the app directly related to goals that children already had as part of OT or PT or the services that they were in, that those activities in the app really supported that and they were seeing it across contexts. So looking to enhance that support and that collaboration, we developed a provider portal for the app. So what that means is that when we talk about providers in this context, we're talking about anyone who works with young children or for young children, whether that's educators in the classroom, physical therapists, occupational pediatricians, really anyone working in that space. They can log in and create a provider login. So they can have, once they do that, families can share their child profile with providers and really looking to enhance that collaboration on shared goals and plan of care. The provider will have access to, if you share your child's profile, they will have access to the recommended activities that are within the app. We don't right now have the access for providers to create child profiles, though we've already heard that a lot, that it would be valuable. So our developers are actually currently working to add that functionality. So very soon, I'd say by the end of the year, if not definitely by the end of January, providers will be able to create profiles because we've heard feedback that it'd be helpful to have the provider do that, or if educators in a classroom and they want to create a profile for a group of children, or maybe a child is on an IEP, giving the provider that ability to create that profile as well would be really helpful. So that is coming soon. What it looks like when a profile is shared. So this is my account as a family member. I have 2 children. I can go in and I can select to share profile. Once I do that, I see a list of providers in my area, and then I can select that provider and share the profile directly with them. As a provider, what I see is that I've received a profile. I can review the request, and then I see their name, their age, their gender, if diagnosis has been indicated, and then if any other accessibility needs have been indicated, I see that as well. I can decline it if there's a reason, if I don't know that child or it was an accident, I can decline to have that profile on mine, or I can accept it. While families have limits of creating 5 child profiles right now, there's no limit to the number of children that providers can have. So they can have as many as families share with them, but they are able to access and see the recommended activities. So right now, the provider does not see the answers to the development survey that has fed those recommended activities, but they see what activities the family is working on. We heard feedback at another session that we did that it would be valuable for a provider to be able to share an activity with a family and say, oh, your child is really enjoying this, or I think your child should give this a try. So that's also something that we're actively right now updating in the app, is the ability to share those individual components directly between provider and family. But this is a space that it is a new section. I think the provider login launched earlier this year, so we're really exploring that space a lot more. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we're Special Olympics as an organization has not really dipped into the under 3 as much because that programming in person did start at 2 and moved on to 7. But we're really looking to support children and families as early as possible. We know that even if they don't necessarily have a diagnosis at this time, again, all of these are designed to be inclusive. And so, really looking to find ways to make sure that we're reaching families as early as possible, bringing them into Special Olympics as a movement, but also supporting them with these activities and these resources. So wanting to make sure as we do that, our messaging is accurate and relevant, that what the app offers is accurate and relevant and is helpful for both providers and families. So that's really the goal in understanding and sharing this app out in all of these different spaces. Because from our perspective, what we see is that for providers, they can have activity ideas. We've presented at like NACI conference and heard educators that they can pull up the activities in the classroom or in their context, because there is that video example, very brief video example and illustration. It also supports the generalization of skills, building that at-home connection, and then ultimately providing families with the health information on their own time, because we also know that families oftentimes go to their providers, whatever that title may be, for questions about child development. So looking to make sure that there's a tool that providers can share with families to access all of that information, since we know that the time is often very limited between families and providers as well. So that is everything that we wanted to share. Really appreciate you having me. Would love, I'm going to pull up the QR code so that if anyone is interested in downloading the app, you can do it. It's available globally on the Google Play and Apple App Stores, again, for free. But would love to hear any questions that anyone has, thoughts, feedback. I'm going to just open the floor.
And Cassandra, can you put your email in the message section?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I don't want anybody to not have their questions or their interest being able to be, really addressed, because we only have about 10 more minutes, that they can contact you directly if they want to pick it up either at a UCED Lend or just for families, not just for, but just in regard to families, and also talk it up with your Part C and 619 program providers, because I just think this is like invaluable. And the more we can get the word out, the more we can get feedback on the usability of it. So now,
and apologies, I couldn't see the chat when I was presenting, so I'm just catching up.
There you go, you got it. So Cassandra's email is right in there.
Yeah.
So one of the chats is the plans for longitudinal data collection. At this point, no, but this would be something that would be easy for Special Olympics, our early childhood UCED initiatives, to work with anybody who wants to implement it on a systemic basis and then be able to collect data. Cassandra, I don't know if you want to address that.
Yeah, and I think from an organization standpoint, we have a really strong research and evaluation team that does that for other sections. And so as the app develops and we work it into our internal metrics and things along those lines, we'll be looking to connect it. Though it's, I think, still early stages in terms of making sure that families and programs can access the app from a technical standpoint, wanting to make sure that that foundation is really set before diving in more. And I think what we've learned with the current evaluation too is different roadblocks that come up with getting families to participate and hearing the feedback on the consistent, especially after having them use the app for a specific amount of time. So taking those learnings and really understanding how we can tweak it to ultimately do a longer evaluation in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I'm glad that it looks like a great resource.
And then Emily says a good resource for childcare, which I agree. It would be fabulous for childcare providers to have access to this. Thanks, Jamie. Any other questions or requests for information about anything else?
or types of information that we should make sure that we are highlighting within there also, either providers or families.
Well, we can give you 9 minutes of the hour back. And just spread the word about this. And we might have an encore in the spring. And we will not be together as an early childhood SIG until January. So for all of you, please have happy holidays. Whatever you celebrate, just make sure you spend it with friends and families. And we're all be thankful that we're all still here, and that the UCIDs are still able to do their mission. Because it was a little tight there for a few weeks, but we'll see you in January. And Cassandra, thank you so much, and for the privilege of working with you guys on this.
Yes, thank you so much. It's great
And
to meet you
Anna,
all.
thank you for
Wonderful day.
jumping in and helping us.
Sure thing. Have a great week, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.